Come in.
Good afternoon, sirs.
Very good afternoon. Yes. Nitisha, take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You can take off your mask if you're comfortable because anyway we are located at a distance. But if you are not, then it's all right.
Sir,
Um, where do we get started with this? This says that you're finished up with your graduation in 2020.
yes, sir.
So almost immediately after that, you have gone for the civil services.
Yes, sir.
And you have graduated from something which is quite specialized in terms of the discipline, in terms of psychology.
Yes, sir.
So you never thought in terms of pursuing higher education?
Sir, I think that I might pursue a bachelor. I might pursue a post graduation degree in psychology, or I might go to PhD level as well in the future.
No, but as of now.
No, sir, not as of now. I was more inclined towards civil services.
So that's exactly the question. Why? Because
Sir,
with something as specialized, people normally pursue a PG. People normally go in for something more. And it also informs me that you are involved in similar activities in terms of attending workshops or you
Yes, sir.
organize workshops.
No, sir, I've attended.
You attend workshops related to psychology.
Yes, sir.
So exactly. So if you are in some way or the other pursuing an interest in the discipline, then it's obvious that you could easily have gone for PG and with the sort of marks which you have. So why civil services?
So I think the scope of work in civil services is much more if we compare it with psychology. Like you said, it's a very specialized field. So the kind of difference that a psychologist can make is very limited as compared to the kind of job or the scope of work one gets to work in when it comes to civil
But
services.
I don't know if you have been pursuing this entire debate. The COVID-19 disruptions to our very existences at multiple levels has induced a massive problem of mental health.
Yes, sir, it has.
And it's evident in so many ways, in so many places, including in India. So, in that sort of situation, a trained psychologist with a 9.9 out of 10,
Yes.
I would believe that that would be more of a social service, more of absolutely critical service as compared to something like the civil services, which is more a general service.
Yes, sir. But like I said, the scope in which one gets to work in civil services is much more. And even in psychology, I am not very interested in clinical psychology, which has a lot of role in what you said about the COVID-19 pandemic. So I am in psychology as well. I'm more interested in social psychology. So even in
So how
that
would you
terms,
define that?
so, social psychology is a branch of psychology that deals with interaction among different classes of people, different types of people, different nationalities. And
Agreed, but in a situation that we are facing across the world as of now, when there's a massive break in mental health, won't the application of clinical psychology be almost akin to a practice in social psychology?
yes, sir, it would be. But even if we consider the role of a civil servant in pandemic, that also becomes very crucial when it comes to handling of crisis or handling the way administration functions. So I see it that way. That even an administrator in this case
You
is a huge
have
role.
come across any case, your first preference is the IS.
Yes.
So you have come across any cases in the last almost 2 years now, wherein civil servants of the variety that you are referring to and have in your mind have managed to make any distinct difference on the ground to the pandemic situation.
Sir, I can think of situation in Melghat. I read an article recently in which Melghat, as we know, it's a very tribal populated region. So the vaccine hesitancy was a lot in that region. But the administration, along with the health professions stationed there, they managed to vaccinate one of the entire hamlets in Melghat, and it is on the verge of becoming almost fully vaccinated. So small changes like
But
these
small,
help.
that's a small place. That's absolutely small place that one is talking about. So if you have the requisite human and material resources at your disposal, covering a place like that is just not very difficult. I'm actually looking forward towards situations wherein things are more complex. You have larger populations to cater to. There's an absolute breakdown of things, and that's the sort of situation in which the local administration has managed to make a difference. So, are you aware of any such situations
So,
anywhere, not just in Maharashtra, but anywhere in India as such?
sir, I can think of Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation.
Okay.
There was a lot of reporting about the way in which the municipal commissioner of the region tackled. He was posted there amidst pandemic in May 2020, and the way in which COVID response was organized at war footing was very effective, and it helped to break the chain in a lot of regions. Example, if we consider the Dharavi slums, there was a very high surge in cases initially, but then it was effectively brought under control. And managing a city like Mumbai, it's a big challenge in itself, but the administration was able to do it very effectively, is what I feel.
Okay, okay. And is this because the office of the Bombay Municipal Commissioner is actually a more empowered office, if one is to use that sort of a terminology, as compared to, say, for example, municipal commissioners even in the rest of Maharashtra? So, are you aware of the fact that the office of the Bombay Municipal Commissioner is actually a more empowered office? It has a lot of autonomy of functioning, the
Yes.
sort of autonomy that other municipal commissioners in the rest of Maharashtra would actually crave for.
Yes, sir.
You're aware of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, Nitisha, that's very interesting. Okay, so social psychology is what you're interested in. Now, how do you pursue your interest in this?
So, as in how I got interested into it?
No. How you got interested is not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in knowing how do you keep up your interest in this?
Sir, I tend to read a lot of emerging trends which are
Okay.
helping psychologists in that field make a positive change in difference.
And these are from peer-reviewed journals.
Yes, sir, and journals published by American Psychological Association, which is very renowned.
American Psychological Association.
Yes, sir, APL.
My God. You think that is at all applicable in situations in which, say, for example, we in the developing South are?
No, sir, not everything is. Surely there's a lot of bias even in publication. Like our demographics and our population are quite diverse, and there's an attempt to diversify research in that area as well, like catering to different ethnicities and population. So there is a bias, but steps are being taken to tackle that as well, so that it becomes more.
If you look,
inclusive.
Nitisha, at this entire crisis of Black Lives Matter
Yes.
and the rapidity with which it spread from coast to coast, the intensity of the violences that it engendered,
Yes.
you think policymakers in the United States draw from insights that are right there on the shelf, courtesy organizations like the American Psychological Association?
Yes, sir. I think the policymakers do consult psychologists a lot. There's a good synergy in the way in which academia and administration works there. But I think there are a lot of loopholes when it comes to implementation or training at the ground level. So when we talk about sensitizing policing and other related reforms, there is where loopholes lie.
Policing is one matter of the story. The other more severe matter of the story is rampant racism that runs through all the local administrations.
Yes.
It's not just the police. If you look at other aspects of administration, if you look at other aspects of delivery of services, so yes, police is racist. No one would deny that. But that doesn't mean that the others who are delivering the other civil facilities and amenities are far away from racism.
Sure, so there are problematic elements and there is rampant racism, but not all elements of administration or not all elements of police are compromised. There are a lot of sensitivity
No,
training.
let's not get into all of that. Just keep it very focused. Like, do you really think from on one hand the sort of situations that evolved, and there are quite a number of hotspots as far as the Black Lives Movement is concerned,
Yes.
where it's going on even as of now while
Yes.
we are talking to each other. There is police brutality. Not all of them gets reported or not all of them gets videographed, but nevertheless it's there.
Yes.
And this point related to policymakers drawing from insights related to disciplines like psychology, like social psychology. So you think it does happen?
Yes, sir, it does.
Can you cite any latest study in the same domain that you have read where you think that it does happen?
Like the racism is practiced?
Not just racism, I'm not talking about racism being practiced. What I'm looking at is insights gained from social psychology by the sort of journals that you read.
Yes.
Okay, being made a part of policy to avert a situation like the Black Lives Movement.
Okay, sir. Can I take a minute to
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Sir, is it okay if I cite an example which is not related to administration, something like workplace? So what America started doing is in corporates, when it comes to hiring people, so they had a psychologist had found that there's a lot of bias while recruiting. As in, if there are two candidates, one of the candidate is white and the other belongs to minority race. So it happens due to inherent biases that the white candidate is chosen more. So what they have started doing is they have stopped revealing details about race or about something that can reveal their race to the recruiters and to the training staff, so that it becomes a more neutral approach and everybody is judged on the basis of their caliber rather than which race they belong to. So
And
neutral
has this
recruitment.
resulted in recruitment of more non-white candidates?
Yes, sir. Like ground level changes have been seen, although it is not as much as it is expected since it's still in the nascent stage, but it is being carried out by big corporates.
This study was conducted by,
Sir, I'm not very sure.
but it was published in the same journal
Yes.
that you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Interesting. And this is in the recent past that you have read.
Yes, sir. As in the research is at least a decade old, but the implementation is quite new.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of problem. We'll come back to that after some time. The Olympian Simona Biles
Yes.
and issues which are related to, for lack of any better word, psychology.
Yes.
How would you perspectivize on it?
So I think what Simone Biles did by withdrawing herself from the event, that was a very huge and a positive step in any athletic discipline, is what I considered, because she placed her mental health before anything else, and that has been largely overlooked in a discipline like sports or games, which requires more physical strength. And it becomes especially very important in a game like in a sport like gymnastics, wherein you need to have synchronization of mind and body. So what she experienced is what is being studied currently by biomechanical experts, that is called as twisties. So she said that she did not feel herself, and when she was in air just before landing, her body and mind did not synchronize, and that can lead to major accidents while landing, which can lead to any sort of spinal fracture or life-threatening injuries. So I think it was a very brave step and something that we.
But then there were some events in which she did take part.
Yes.
And she also did go ahead and win a bronze.
Yes, Sachin.
So how does one understand that from a psychological perspective? So in some events you withdraw right at the beginning of the entire tournament.
Yes.
And say that I don't want to be a part of this, and then at a later point of time you join in, and lo and behold, it's not a performance. The very fact that you have managed to get a medal,
Yes.
it's definitely not a subpar performance.
Yes, sir.
So as a psychologist, how do you understand that?
So I think before any event, and it is very significant in a platform on a platform like Olympics, in which there's a lot of pressure and it's watched by audience and lovers of the sport across the globe. So the pressure is also a lot, and it was during the initial part of the tournament from the events from which she withdrew, and later when she got back, when she felt that her mind and body were in sync, the event in which she won bronze, that was in the later part of the
Exactly.
tournament. So I think one like the athlete requires time in order to mentally stabilize himself or herself, because putting your mental health before everything else becomes very crucial in a risky sport like gymnastics. So I think that
If
was
you're looking at, say, for example, last 6 months, multiple sports events all across the world that you can take a look at, and you find athletes who are performing under immense stress.
yes,
You find athletes who are cracking up on the ground. You find athletes who are refusing to take part in competitions. You see so much of that.
yes, sir.
Okay. Now I'm just trying to make sense of how does one look at all of this in the context of the fact that you also watch a lot of superhero movies.
Yes, sir.
So, and the athlete was a superhero par excellence
Yes,
in performing in real time, in right there in front of you in the most visible way.
yes.
So, aren't superheroes under stress?
Sure, sir. They are subjected to a lot of stressful environments, and I recently read a quote relating to mental health, which said that the bravest thing a person can say is help. So it becomes very important for a person to step back in a stressful environment, assess the situation, and make sure that he or she has the capability to deal with. It's okay to sit out of a crucial a moment if you want to buy time, and if you want to say that let me take this in for a moment and then go. So I think that's perfectly fine. That doesn't make you weak.
No, but athletes were always seen as superheroes. It's not that it just happened only now.
Yes.
So, what is it about this moment that is leading to this stress?
So I think stress was always there, but like I said, in sports, mental health was not stressed as much. So we also saw in earlier days, if we consider like 2 decades back, there have been very good players in different sports who have performed better and who have had a slack in their particular sport. Like for a period of time, they weren't able to perform. Now everybody used to blame their lack of practice or the fact that they might be losing their physical strength. But nobody really talked about mental health because there was a stigma attached to it, because there was lack of awareness. But now that people have started talking about mental health more, so we feel that
So,
the
it's
discussion.
basically about the fact that there is certain sort of congruence of awareness
Yes, sir.
at the level of both the athlete as well as at the level of the audience.
Yes, sir.
And hence it is okay to crack up, hence it is okay to say that, well, I can't take this in,
Yes,
and sort of move away.
yes, sir.
Okay, okay, very interesting. You come from Latur.
Yes, right.
Okay, is this an urban area or is it a rural place in Latur that we are talking about?
Urban area.
Urban area, the city itself.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea about how big would the population of this place be?
So according to the 2011 census, it was around 3.9 lakh.
3.9 lakh.
Yes, sir.
It's a small place.
Yes, sir.
Because if you look at the Western Maharashtra cities, urban agglomerations who have populations running into, so like Greater Bombay is 1.25 crore.
Yes.
3.9 lakh. It has a municipal council or municipal corporation?
So it has been a municipal corporation for quite some time.
Municipal corporation
Yes,
for
so almost
3.9
a
lakh
decade.
people.
Yes, sir.
Oh my god, that's too much of pampering. And what is the source of drinking water as far as this urban area is concerned?
So there's a prominent river called as Manzra River, which flows through Latur. And there are dams like in the Marathwada region, for example, in Aurangabad, there's Jaikwadi Dam. So those are the sources, and there are a couple of local sources which I'm unable to recall right now.
Okay. So, what is supplied on a regular basis, on almost a daily basis?
Oh no, so there are a lot of water issues in Latur city as well as rural, and it has been in use for quite some time. But there are being practices performed to make the water supply more sustainable and prolonged.
Oh my god. So you have a urban area which is a municipal corporation, and something as basic as water supply is not on a regular basis. We are supposed to be living in a world in a couple of years from now in India where we would be getting 24 into 7 tap water.
Yes, sir.
Are all the households in this urban area that we're talking about supplied tap water?
No, sir. Not as of now.
No.
No.
So are there any specific regions which are supplied with water by tankers?
Yes, sir. There are many regions in the. I don't know about. I'm not sure about the rural areas, but in
No, in the
cities.
urban areas.
Yes, sir. Yes.
In this region, you have.
Tankers.
Oh my God. Hmm. Does the Maharashtra government have a department at its ministerial level that deals with municipal water?
Oh, sir, I'm not sure.
Not very sure about that. Okay, okay. You have done an introductory course in public policy
Yes.
from
So there was an iPolicy program by.
run by.
Sir, I'm not sure, but I'm not able to recall the name, sir. But it was a liberal school of thought based in liberal school in New Delhi.
You did this
Yes.
when?
So I think in December 2018. It was a very introductory course.
Like how big was it?
Uh,
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
2 days, sir. It was very
2 days?
Yeah, very elementary.
Oh my God. That explains that you are not able to recollect things. And an introductory workshop on workplace psychology.
Yes.
This was conducted by
Nolmi Labs. It's a government registered foundation.
in Maharashtra.
Yes. It's
Nolmi.
Nolmi Labs. So-
Nolmi. How would you spell it?
Nolme. Nolmi.
Okay.
So it was started by one of our professors in college.
Acha, from the Ferguson College
Yes.
itself. Okay. And this was for how many days?
This was for 2 days as well.
Why do you keep attending things for 2 days?
So to have a basic elementary idea of things.
You can always go to the net and find that. Doing a 2 day workshop or a 2 day play is a thing that you're anyway going to forget eventually.
The
And
discussions
then to put it up
involved.
over there. Oh my God. So what were the discussions which were conducted in this workshop?
So in workplace psychology, we were introduced to the discipline and the way in which you can trace if you want to apply for further careers or different options, the way in which it is traced in India, which is very different from what happens in abroad, the kind of practices or domains in which industrial psychologists were involved in.
So workplace is industry.
Yes, sir. Industrial and
Workplace is-
organizational.
Okay. And you're interested in political cartoons.
Yes.
Why?
So I just think it's a wonderful medium to portray a particular event in a very small space, and it's very entertaining as well.
In particular cartoons that you follow?
So I liked R.K. Lakshman's work a lot. Recently, I'm into Line of No Control by Sandeep Advaryu, and Manjul, Political by Manjul.
So most of them are Indians that you're following.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes.
Cartoons deprive people of their lives. Are you aware of that?
No, sir.
No?
I'm not.
You're not aware of this French situation
Yes, sir. I
when
am.
these cartoons were responsible for the killing
Terrorist
of
attack. Yes.
almost the entire staff at Charlie Hebdo, as well as this teacher
Was
just other
beheaded.
year around. Huh?
Yes.
So now this particular French case, wherein these cartoons which were published by Charlie Hebdo in 2015 were used by this teacher in his elementary school for the purposes of educating his children, educating his students. So, and have you seen those cartoons?
Yes, sir. I have.
So, in your opinion, you think they are provocative?
Sir, I think they are, because the way in which they were portrayed, it was quite obscene and it might be considered offensive in a particular religion, the Islamic religion. So they were.
But the French point was like, under French law, it's perfectly all right to blaspheme.
So, but we also need to understand the religious sentiments of minority I'm sure there's a clear separation of religion and state in France, but
But
then
there is no idea of a minority either.
yes.
So French are very clear about this, that we all are French.
So, but we also need to respect religious beliefs of people coming from other religions. So,
But the state has no religion. And that's exactly what I said. The state believes that we have a right to blaspheme.
yes, sir. But the thing about it is the depiction in the cartoons, the way in which Prophet Muhammad was shown in the cartoons, that was not very decent depiction. I mean, depiction is one thing, and that's perfectly fine. But the way in which they were depicted, it was considered. It
That's
can be
very
considered.
subjective. That's very, very subjective. There's no objective way of doing a political cartoon. A political
Yes.
cartoon is meant to provoke. Like, are you aware of the fact that now we have a new controversy in France related to a cartoon of President Emmanuel Macron in the backdrop of the compulsory, the mandatory masking policy of the French government. So the idea is, if you are not vaccinated, you have got to mask yourself in public spaces all the time.
Yes.
And this has led to a big furor on account of a cartoon which has gone places, which sort of compares Macron with Adolf Hitler.
Yes.
So you're aware, have you seen this new cartoon?
Yes, sir, I have.
You've seen this one.
Yes.
So you think this one is drawing the line, figuratively speaking, a bit too long?
Oh, yes, sir. I think. I mean, as you said, it's pretty subjective. But then, just because a president is urging citizens to wear masks and follow COVID appropriate behavior, comparing that to taking away freedoms and comparing him to a dictatorial figure who has been widely condemned, like Adolf Hitler, I think that's taking things too far, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, most of the cartoons that you're looking at are people whose works you can readily understand in the Indian context, one would say, because most of them do this for English language newspapers.
Yes.
And it seems you're not aware of, say, for example, the cartoons from Bengal, wherein cartoons have been slapped with sedition for having a depicted Mamata Banerjee in some manner.
Yes.
Or the Malayalam cartoonists who have landed in trouble about depicting the LDF government as chief in a certain manner.
Yes.
So you are not aware of those cartoons.
Sir, I do follow a couple of regional cartoonists like Marathi. I used to follow Marathi cartoonists, but I'm not aware of other states.
Okay. Very interesting. Acha, Nitisha, in light of the sort of situation that has presented itself in the South Asian country called as Afghanistan, you think there are distinct elements of psychology that one can draw on when it comes to understanding a so-called religio-political movement of the variety that is now in ascendancy in Afghanistan?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes, sir. There is.
And can you briefly enumerate as to what these insights be?
Yes, sir. So there's a big topic called psychology of terrorism, which is very popular in understanding the very phenomenon, the way in which terrorist groups function. So there are a couple of reasons as to why people engage in these sort of violent acts. So earlier, when it was initially being studied, many psychologists drew conclusions that it is because of the relative deprivation and the kind of poverty people are in, which forces them to take up arms and revolt against the state. But with 9/11, that perception underwent a major change in which a terrorist as educated as Osama bin Laden, who was a trained civil engineer by profession, having everything economically settled, still engaged in something like this. So it was concluded that there is nothing called as a psychological profile of terrorism. There are different ways of radicalizing people. So whenever we consider the relative deprivation, the reason of relative deprivation can be applied to terrorists which operate in the lower rung. And the ones who run the entire organization in the upper circles, they have a different agenda against the way in which Western democracies have been treating and exploiting their resources or depriving them of their own resources. So all these conditions are responsible for creating the phenomenon of terrorism.
Okay. Yeah. Taking it forward, when we look at the phenomena of terrorism, there is an element which is closely associated with psychology. Now, what is that?
In terrorism?
Yes, or association, let us say.
So I'm sorry, I can't.
Say, for example, whenever an organization resort to terrorist means, the kind of outcome it looks at or aims at. So, can we say that there is an element of psychology, the kind of impact they want to have through that means, terrorist means?
Yes, sir. They basically justify the means they create this whole idea of, let's say, jihad, and then they use different religious symbols in order to provoke people and in order to create a very organized setup in which rigidity is a lot, fundamentalism is a lot, and norm violation is strictly not allowed. So there's a very systematic organization through which these terrorist groups work. So even that is an arena of study in psychology,
Okay.
the way in which they function.
Okay. Now, whenever we look at human psychology, that's a very complex and very comprehensive phenomenon or term, say. Now, what factors what factors have bearing on human psychology? Just 1, 2, 3, 4.
So human psychology, at the center of it is personal factors. The kind of values and morals the person is imbibed with, that forms the core. Nextly is the environment in which the person is raised. So we see a lot of differences. Let's say a child raised in India as compared to a child raised in United States of America. So environment plays a huge role. Third thing is culture. So the way in which there are different elements like religion or general way of living, even that has a bearing on human psychology.
Okay, so one will be the personal factor, the second
Environment.
ecology, and also the culture. Okay, okay. Any other factor which comes to your mind?
So society as well, sociological factors. As in, if we take example of India, caste plays a huge role in determining human psychology to a very large extent. And I think there's a lack of study when it comes to caste influencing human psychology in India, because it's a very India-centric phenomenon.
Okay, okay, fine. Now, how would your background of sociology help you in dealing with that aspect once you become an administrator, civil servant?
During my college days, one of our professors used to say that you might leave psychology to pursue other careers, but psychology is never going to leave you because it's so ubiquitous. So if we consider it administration, I can use my knowledge of workplace psychology in managing my interpersonal relations better. I can inculcate leadership skills in order to motivate subordinates and to learn from my superiors and seniors. Thirdly, I can use knowledge of community psychology in order to engage with different sections of society, which will help me as an administrator in fighting different crimes or to manage areas which have been conflicted. Fourthly, social psychology can be used in order to engage with different people. So there are many, and then mental phenomenon of mental health can also be stressed upon, wherein vulnerable populations can be like I can talk to them, I can form a connect and explain to them the importance of it.
Okay. You pointed out mental health. Now, there is a very close association between the level of economic development of a society and the way in which we look at mental
Yes.
health. So, how do you look at the relationship? So, it is very close. But if you are asked to decode that, how do you do that?
Yes, sir. In one of the recent reports released by American Psychological Association, it talked about presence of mental health clinics in different neighborhoods, especially vulnerable neighborhoods. So there was a quote by one of the psychologists which explains the importance of all this very well. He said that we can open mental health clinic in every corner, but we can't expect people to avail those services if they do not have food security or if they do not have a place to live under. As in, a beggar would never think of the fact that probably he or she is depressed or he or she is very suicide prone. So unless and until, so there needs to be a synergy of different systems. Unless you have economic upliftment of people, economic empowerment, basic minimum sources, they cannot think of their mental well-being, and it's vice versa. So it's very cyclical.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the kind of relationship. Okay. See, the government has come up with a very interesting target of making available tap water.
Yes.
Now, do you really think that that is a feasible target?
Sir, I think it is feasible. Sure, there can be a lot of shortcomings due to the COVID-19 pandemic, in which almost every scheme and initiative has been disrupted. But if we work at war footing, that can be attainable with collective
Okay.
efforts.
So let us accept your say point of view. So it can be, but then what essential steps, initiatives need to be taken up if at all that target is to be achieved?
Yes, sir. Sir, I would like to cite this with an example. It was recently in news that Puri became the first city to have functional tap water 24/7. And the way in which Odisha government worked in order to make that happen amidst the pandemic itself is very commendable. So what they did was they had a lot of synergies with the local administration, as in the local self-governments and the municipal wards. They were directed with a very systematic plan in order to tackle the issues at hand. They had a lot of citizen groups that were involved as well, by which people could go there easily and report their problems, and the way in which financial resources were allocated and put to good use. So all such things can be
Okay, so
helpful.
there has to be political will.
Yes.
Then the synergy between the political representative and the administration, public participation.
Yes.
Now, what is the possibility of happening the same at national level?
Sir, so we have to have a bottom-top approach if we want to make this happen at a national level. Like I said, in villages, local self-governments are very, very influential. And I would like to cite a psychological model in order to make this happen. There's a psychological concept called popular opinion leader, in which, in order to make a long-lasting change, what administrators generally do is they contact an influential leader in an area, explain the importance of the scheme to him or her, and if he or she starts adopting that scheme, then automatically his or her followers will also start doing the same. So I think that model can be used, in which influential, let's say for example, sarpanch of a village, and then we can also have women participation. We've seen it has been proven that social change is very effective when women are involved. So that can happen. Non-state actors can be involved as well. A lot of NGOs and civil
Now,
society
in this
groups.
entire process, the availability of water is going to play a very significant role.
Yes.
Now, so how are we supposed to deal with that?
Water availability, sir.
Yes.
Sir, we can make sure that the local water bodies and dams, or whatever the water resources are, firstly, they are audited well. As in, the administration needs to know the kind of water supply that is available in a particular region, and if there are any impediments, like there's a lot of land, there's a lot of siltation, or a lot of waste disposal, so that can be gotten rid of to have a clean supply. So I think first, auditing is very important. Secondly, appropriate channels are required to transfer the water into households, and the 55-liter limit, that also needs to be adhered very, very sincerely, and we can have different people monitoring and checking whether people are actually getting the supply or not, and report problems if there are any.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.